Hello, my loves. Now, I have tried to make this video a couple times, but something's always come up. Either my phone doesn't want to do the things or something else. We're going to actually split this one into two because it is a very long chapter. So we're going to get into it, and this one's called An Old Friend. The herbalist shop had a cherry sign and was easy to find. A short, curly-haired woman sat by the door. She was holding a frog in one hand and writing with the other. Eragon assumed that she was Angela, the herbalist. On either side of the store was a house. "Which one do you think is his?" he asked. Brom deliberated, then said, "Let's find out." He approached the woman and asked politely, "Could you tell us which house Jode lives in?" "I could," she continued writing. "Will you tell us?" "Yes." She fell silent, but her pen scribbled faster than ever. The frog on her hand croaked and looked at them with baleful eyes. Brom and Eragon waited uncomfortably, but she said no more. Eragon was about to blurt something out when Angela looked up. "Of course I'll tell you. All you have to do is ask. Your first question was whether or not I could tell you, and the second was if I would tell you. But you never actually put the question to me." "Then let me ask properly," said Brom with a smile. "Which house is Jode's? And why are you holding a frog?" "Now we're getting somewhere," she bantered. "Jode is on the right, and as for the frog, he's actually a toad. I'm trying to prove that toads don't exist, that there are only frogs." "How can toads not exist if you have one in your hand right now?" interrupted Eragon. "Besides, what good will it do, proving that there are only frogs?" The woman shook her head vigorously, dark curls bouncing. No, you don't understand. If I prove toads don't exist, then this is a frog, and one never was a toad. Therefore, the toad you see now doesn't exist. And if I can prove there are only frogs, then toads won't be able to do anything bad, like make teeth fall out, cause warts, and poison or kill people. Also, witches won't be able to use any of their evil spells because, of course, there won't be any toads around." "I see," said Brom delicately. "It sounds interesting, and I would like to hear more, but we have to meet Jode." "Of course," she said, waving her hand and returning to her writing. Once they were out of the herbalist's hearing, Eragon said, "She's crazy." "It's possible," said Brom, "but you never know. She might discover something useful, so don't criticize. Who knows? Toads might really be frogs." "And my shoes are made of gold," retorted Eragon. They stopped before a door with a wrought iron knocker and marble doorstep. Brom banged 3 times. No one answered. Eragon felt slightly foolish. "Maybe this is the wrong house. Let's try the other one," he said. Brom ignored him and knocked again, pounding loudly. Again, no one answered. Eragon turned away in exasperation and then heard someone run to the door. A young woman with a pale complexion and light blonde hair cracked it open. Her eyes were puffy. It looked like she had been crying, but her voice was perfectly steady. "Yes? What do you want?" "Does Jode live here?" asked Brom kindly. The woman dipped her head a little. "Yes, he is my husband. Is he expecting you?" She opened the door no farther. "No, but we need to talk with him," said Brom. "He is very busy. We have traveled far. It's very important that we see him." Her face hardened. "He is busy." Brom bristled, but his voice stayed pleasant. "Since he is unavailable, would you please give him a message?" Her mouth twitched, but she consented. "Tell him that a friend from Gilead is waiting outside." The woman seemed suspicious, but said, "Very well." She closed the door abruptly. Eragon heard her footsteps recede. "That wasn't very polite," he commented. "Keep your opinions to yourself," snapped Brom, "and don't say anything. Let me do the talking." He crossed his arms and tapped his fingers. Eragon clamped his mouth shut and looked away. The door suddenly flew open, and a tall man burst out of the house. His expensive clothes were rumpled, his gray hair wispy, and he had a mournful face with short eyebrows. A long scar stretched across his scalp to his temple. At the sight of them, his eyes grew wide, and he sagged against the doorframe, speechless. His mouth opened and closed several times like a gasping fish. He asked softly, in an incredulous voice, "Brom?" Brom put a finger to his lips and reached forward, clasping the man's arm. "It's good to see you, Jode. I'm glad that memory has not failed you, but don't use that name. It would be unfortunate if anyone knew I was here." Jode looked around wildly, shock plain on his face. "I thought you were dead," he whispered. "What happened? Why haven't you contacted me before?" "All things will be explained. Do you have a place where we can talk safely?" Jode hesitated, swinging his gaze between Eragon and Brom, face unreadable. Finally, he said, "We can't talk here, but if you wait a moment, I'll take you somewhere we can." "Fine," said Brom. Jode nodded and vanished behind the door. I hope I can learn something of Brom's past, thought Eragon. There was a rapier at Jode's side when he returned. An embroidered jacket hung loosely on his shoulders, matched by a plumed hat. Brom cast a critical eye at the finery, and Jode shrugged self-consciously. He took them through Tyrim toward a citadel. Eragon led the horses behind the two men. Joe gestured at their destination. Risthart, the Lord of Tyrim, has decreed that all the business owners must have their headquarters in his castle. Even though most of us conduct our business elsewhere, we still have to rent rooms here. It's nonsense, but we abide by it anyway to keep him calm. We'll be free of eavesdroppers in there. The walls are thick. They went through the fortress's main gate and into the keep. Jode strode to a side door and pointed to an iron ring. You can tie the horses there. No one will bother them. When Snowfire and Caddock were safely tethered, he opened the door with an iron key and let them inside. Within was a long, empty hallway lit by torches set into the walls. Eragon was surprised by how cold and damp it was. When he touched the wall, his fingers slid over a layer of slime. He shivered. Jode snatched a torch from its bracket and led them down the hall. They stopped before a heavy wooden door. He unlocked it and ushered them into a room dominated by a bearskin rug laden with stuffed chairs. Bookshelves stacked with leather-bound tomes covered the walls. Jode piled wood in the fireplace, then thrust the torch under it. The fire quickly roared. You, old man, have some explaining to do. Brom's face crinkled with a smile. Who are you calling an old man? The last time I saw you, there was no gray in your hair. Now it looks like it's in the final stages of decomposition. And you look the same as you did nearly 20 years ago. Time seems to have preserved you as a crotchety old man just to inflict wisdom upon each new generation. Enough of this. Get on with the story. That's always what you were good at, said Jode impatiently. Eragon's ears pricked up, and he waited eagerly to hear what Brom would say. Brom relaxed into a chair and pulled out his pipe. He slowly blew a smoke ring that turned green, darted into the fireplace, then flew up the chimney. Do you remember what we were doing in Gilead? Yes, of course, said Jode. That sort of thing is hard to forget. An understatement, but true nevertheless, said Brom dryly. When we were separated, I couldn't find you. In the midst of the turmoil, I stumbled into a small room. There wasn't anything extraordinary in it, just crates and boxes, but out of curiosity, I rummaged through anyway. Fortune smiled on me that hour, for I found what we had been searching for. An expression of shock ran over Jode's face. Once it was in my hands, I couldn't wait for you. At any second, I might have been discovered and all lost. Disguising myself as best I could, I fled the city and ran to the, Brom hesitated and glanced at Eragon, then said, ran to our friends. They stored it in a vault for safekeeping and made me promise to care for whomever received it. Until the day when my skills would be needed, I had to disappear. No one could know that I was alive, not even you, though it grieved me to pain you unnecessarily. So I went north and I hid in Carvajal. Eragon clenched his jaw, infuriated that Brom was deliberately keeping him in the dark. Jode frowned and asked, Then our friends knew that you were alive all along? Yes. He sighed. I suppose the ruse was unavoidable, though I wish they had told me. Isn't Carvajal farther north on the other side of the spine? Brom inclined his head. For the first time, Jode inspected Eragon. His gray eyes took in every detail. He raised his eyebrows and said, I assume, then, that you are fulfilling your duty? Brom shook his head. No, it's not that simple. It was stolen a while ago. At least that's what I presume, for I haven't received word from our friends, and I suspect their messengers were waylaid. So I decided to find out what I could. Eragon happened to be traveling in the same direction. We have stayed together for a time now. Jode looked puzzled. But if they haven't sent any messages, how could you know that it was... Brom overrode him quickly, saying Eragon's uncle was brutally killed by the Razak. They burned his home and nearly caught him in the process. He deserves revenge, but they have left us without a trail to follow, and we need help finding them. Jode's face cleared. I see. But why have you come here? I don't know where the Razak might be hiding, and anyone who does won't tell you. Standing, Brom reached into his robe and pulled out the Razak's flask. He tossed it to Jode. There's seether oil in there, the dangerous kind. The Razak were carrying it. They lost it by the trail, and we happened to find it. We need to see Tyrim's shipping records so that we can trace the Empire's purchases of the oil. That should tell us where the Razak's lair is. Lines appeared on Jode's face as he thought. He pointed at the books on his shelves. Do you see those? They are all records from my business. One business. You have gotten yourself into a project that could take months. There is another, greater problem. The records you seek are held in this castle, but only Brand, Ristart's administrator of trade, sees them on a regular basis. Traders such as myself aren't allowed to handle them. They fear that we will falsify the results, thus cheating the Empire of its precious taxes. I can deal with that when the time comes, said Brom, but we need a few days of rest before we can think about proceeding. Jode smiled. It seems that it is my turn to help you. My house is yours, of course. Do you have another name while you're here? Yes, said Brom. I'm Neil, and the boy is Evan. Eragon, said Jode thoughtfully. You have a unique name. Few have ever been named after the first writer. In my life, I've read about only 3 people who were called such. Eragon was startled that Jode knew the origin of his name. Brom looked at Eragon. Could you go check on the horses and make sure they're all right? I don't think I tied Snowfire to the ring tightly enough. They're trying to hide something from me. The moment I leave, they're going to talk about it. Eragon shoved himself out of the chair and left the room, slamming the door shut. Snowfire had not moved. The knot that held him was fine. Scratching the horses' necks, Eragon leaned sullenly against the castle wall. It's not fair, he complained to himself. If only I could hear what they are saying. He jolted upright, electrified. Brom had once taught him some words that would enhance his hearing. Keen ears aren't exactly what I want, but I should be able to make the words work. After all, look what I could do with Brisingar. He concentrated intensely and reached for his power. Once it was within his grasp, he said, I'm going to butcher this. The ver stener un atra eka horna, and imbued the words with his will. As the power rushed out of him, he heard a faint whisper in his ears, but nothing more. Disappointed, he sank back, then started, as Jode said, and I've been doing that for almost 8 years now. Eragon looked around. No one was there except for a few guards standing against the far wall of the keep. Grinning, he sat on the courtyard and closed his eyes. I never expected you to become a merchant, said Brom, after all the time you spent in books, and finding the passageway in that manner. What made you take up trading instead of remaining a scholar? After Gilead, I didn't have much taste for sitting in musty rooms and reading scrolls. I decided to help Agiad as best as I could, but I'm no warrior. My father was a merchant as well. You may remember that. He helped me get started. However, the bulk of my business is nothing more than a front to get goods into Serta. But I take it that things have been going badly, said Brom. Yes, none of the shipments have gotten through lately, and Trondheim is running low on supplies. Somehow, the Empire, at least I think it's them, has discovered those of us who have been helping to support Trondheim. But I'm still not convinced that it's the Empire. No one sees any soldiers. I don't understand it. Perhaps Galbatorix hired mercenaries to harass us. I heard that you lost a ship recently. The last one I owned, answered Jode bitterly. Every man on it was loyal and brave. I doubt I'll ever see them again. The only option I have left is to send caravans to Serta or Gilead, which I know won't get there, no matter how many guards I hire, or charter someone else's ship to carry the goods. But no one will take them now. How many merchants have been helping you? Asked Brom. Oh, a good number up and down the seaboard. All of them have been plagued by the same troubles. I know what you are thinking. I've pondered it many a night myself, but I cannot bear the thought of a traitor with that much knowledge and power. If there is one, we're all in jeopardy. You should return to Trondheim. And take Eragon there? Interrupted Brom. They'd tear him apart. It's the worst place he could be right now. Maybe in a few months, or even better, a year. Can you imagine how the dwarves will react? Everyone will be trying to influence him, especially Islanzadi. He and Saphira won't be safe in Trondheim until I at least get them through Tuatha du Orithrim. Dwarves, thought Eragon excitedly. Where is this Trondheim? And why did he tell Jode about Saphira? He shouldn't have done that without asking me. Still, I have a feeling that they are in need of your power and wisdom. Wisdom, snorted Brom. It's just what you said earlier. I'm a crotchety old man. Many would disagree. Let them. I've no need to explain myself. No. Agiad will have to get along without me. What I'm doing now is much more important. But the prospect of a traitor raises troubling questions. I wonder if that's how the Empire knew where to be. His voice trailed off. And I wonder why I haven't been contacted about this, said Jode. Maybe they tried. But if there's a traitor... Brom paused. I have to send word to Agiad. Do you have a messenger you can trust? I think so, said Jode. It depends on where he would have to go. I don't know, said Brom. I've been isolated so long my contacts have probably died or forgotten me. Could you send him to whoever receives your shipments? Yes, but it'll be risky. What isn't these days? How soon can he leave? He can go in the morning. I'll send him to Gilead. It will be faster, said Jode. What can he take to convince Agiad the message comes from you? Here, give your man my ring, and tell him that if he loses it, I'll personally tear his liver out. It was given to me by the Queen. Aren't you cheery? Commented Jode. Brom grunted. After a long silence, he said, We'd better go out and join Eragon. I get worried when he's alone. That boy has an unnatural propensity for being wherever there's trouble. Are you surprised? Not really. Eragon heard chairs being pushed back. He quickly pulled his mind away and opened his eyes. What's going on? He muttered to himself. Jode and other traders are in trouble for helping people the Empire doesn't favor. Brom found something in Gilead and went to Carvahal to hide. What could be so important that he would let his own friend think he was dead for nearly 20 years? He mentioned a queen, when there aren't any queens in the known kingdoms, and dwarves, who, as he himself told me, disappeared underground long ago. He wanted answers, but he would not confront Brom now and risk jeopardizing their mission. No, he'd wait until they left Tyrm, and then he would persist until the old man explained his secrets. Eragon's thoughts were still whirling when the door opened. "Were the horses all right?" asked Brom. "Fine," said Eragon. They untied the horses and left the castle. As they re-entered the main body of Tyrm, Brom said, "So, Jode, you finally got married. And," he winked slyly, "to a lovely young woman. Congratulations." We're actually going to stop right here and then start the next video immediately after. So I'll see you in the next one.